Look at this map from 1595. It shows a massive continent at the North Pole that doesn't appear on any modern map. 4 islands surrounding a magnetic mountain, rivers flowing between them, an entire landmass that somehow vanished from our geography. I started researching this after the Greenland video. If ice can hide an entire civilization for 500 years, what else might be up there in the Arctic? The ancient Greeks called it Hyperborea, a land beyond the north wind where the sun shone 24 hours a day. But this wasn't just mythology. Cartographers mapped it, explorers wrote about it, and then it disappeared. Let me show you something strange. Pull up any marine traffic tracking website. These sites use satellites to show real-time ship movement across the entire Earth. Now look at the Bering Strait. Ships approach it constantly, but almost none actually go through. I've been checking sporadically for weeks. The traffic just stops at the threshold. Compare that to Spitsbergen, about 900 miles further north. Ships travel there regularly, despite the extreme latitude. The explanation is ocean currents, but when you look at the actual patterns, something doesn't quite add up. Now check flight tracking sites. Commercial aircraft avoid flying directly over the North Pole region. The official reason is navigational difficulties and emergency landing concerns. That makes sense on the surface, but we're talking about an era where we can land rovers on Mars and navigate submarines under ice sheets. GPS technology struggles specifically in the Arctic region, according to multiple studies. Let me read you something. This is from research on Arctic navigation challenges. GPS is not quite as global as its name suggests. The technology is unreliable in the Arctic. Satellite navigation remains inaccurate and difficult in this region. We spend billions on so-called space technology, but can't get reliable GPS signals in one specific region of our own world. If you're finding this interesting, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe. Your support genuinely helps this channel continue exploring these historical mysteries. And if you have a moment, the like button helps more people discover this content. Fasten your pants and let's continue. The earliest detailed mention of Hyperborea comes from Herodotus around 450 BC. But there's a problem. The oldest manuscript we actually have dates to sometime before 1449. That's a 2,000-year gap. The same gap appears with most ancient sources. They all surfaced during this mysterious 15th century when so much of our accepted history was supposedly rediscovered. Gerardus Mercator created his famous Arctic map in 1595. He didn't claim to have explored there himself. In a letter to mathematician John Dee in 1577, Mercator explained his source. He copied everything from an author named Jacobus Canoyan of Herzogenbusch. Nobody knows who this person was or where he got his information. Mercator described it precisely: a whirlpool in the middle of 4 countries, water rushing down like through a filter funnel, and a bare magnetic rock under the pole with a circumference of 33 French miles. This wasn't the only map showing Arctic land. Martin Beheim's 1492 globe shows northern continents, maps from 1565, multiple from Ortelius in the 1570s and 1580s, and Urbano Monte's elaborate 1587 world map all showed extensive Arctic geography. These weren't rough sketches. They showed mountains, coastlines, and specific features. Then something changed. Later versions of these maps started removing the Arctic landmass. Coastlines were redrawn. The islands disappeared. The official explanation is that explorers proved no such continent existed. But did they? Or did the maps just stop showing it? Temperature patterns in the Arctic region create another puzzle. Vladivostok and Anchorage are about 1,300 miles apart when measured north to south. Vladivostok sits at 43 degrees north latitude. Anchorage is at 61 degrees north. That's a massive difference in latitude, yet their temperatures are virtually identical, with Anchorage often being warmer. Climate models struggle to explain this without adding multiple complicated factors. The time zone situation near the Bering Strait is equally strange. 2 locations sit 59 miles apart. One is Naukon in Russia, the other is Tin City in Alaska. The distance between them is less than the length of Manhattan, yet the time difference is 4 hours. Time zones are based on longitude. but this creates an anomaly that seems disproportionate to the actual distance. Military presence around the Bering Strait is extensive. Both Russian and American bases line the entire region. From a national security perspective, this makes perfect sense. It's a strategic choke point between two superpowers. But the sheer concentration of military infrastructure for such a remote area raises questions about what exactly is being protected or monitored. Recent news about Arctic territories has brought renewed attention to this region. Multiple nations are asserting claims and increasing their presence. The official reasons involve resources, shipping routes, and strategic position, but they also create convenient explanations for restricting access. Cruise ships advertise Alaskan and Arctic voyages. When you look at their actual routes, they tour the Bering Sea but don't pass through the Bering Strait itself. Even the most expensive Arctic cruises avoid that specific passage. There was even discussion of building an underwater train connecting China, Russia, and the United States through the Bering Strait region. The engineering challenges for such a project would be immense. The cost would be astronomical, yet it's been proposed seriously by government officials. If the region is just open water and ice as maps suggest, why choose such an incredibly difficult approach? What might make an underwater route preferable to surface travel? Google Maps and similar services show the Arctic as mostly featureless white space. Unlike other remote regions where satellite imagery provides detailed terrain data, the Arctic appears oddly blank. We can see surface features on Mars with incredible clarity. Ocean floor mapping reveals underwater mountain ranges and valleys, but pull up the North Pole region on civilian mapping surfaces and there's just white. Some satellite images of the region show inconsistencies. Areas that should match between different services sometimes don't. Coastlines appear in different positions, ice coverage doesn't always align. These could be explained as technical issues with imaging at extreme latitudes, or they could indicate something else. The Greek legends described Hyperborea as a paradise where people lived for 1,000 years. The sun never set, the land produced abundant food without cultivation. These stories were recorded as mythology, but many Greek myths have roots in actual places that became exaggerated over time. What if Hyperborea existed as a habitable Arctic region during a different climate period? We know from geological evidence that Earth's climate has varied dramatically. The Arctic has been much warmer in the past. If a civilization existed there during a warm period and then got buried under ice, the same pattern we discussed with Greenland would apply on a larger scale. The maps from the 1500s might have been based on older sources that documented the region before it froze over. By the time European cartographers were making their maps, the knowledge could have been preserved from earlier periods when the Arctic was accessible. As exploration increased and no contemporary travelers found these lands, cartographers updated their work to reflect current observations. But that raises another question. If the Arctic froze over and became inaccessible, why the unusual navigation difficulties? Why the GPS problems specifically in this region? Modern technology should make these areas easier to access and document, not harder. It is said that climate change is causing Arctic ice to melt at accelerating rates. Scientists predict major changes in the region over the coming decades. As that ice recedes, what will be revealed? If Greenland's ice is hiding 500 years of history, what might centuries or millennia of Arctic ice be concealing? The official position is that nothing is hidden because nothing is there to hide. The Arctic is exactly what it appears to be: frozen ocean and ice sheets. The navigation issues have technical explanations. The traffic patterns follow economic and practical logic. The military presence serves clear strategic purposes. But accepting that position requires believing that multiple odd circumstances just happen to coincide in one specific region. It requires trusting that our satellite technology, which works everywhere else, fails specifically there for purely technical reasons. It requires accepting that ancient cartographers either invented detailed landmasses or copied from sources that no longer exist. I'm not claiming I know what's at the North Pole. I'm pointing out that the official explanations, while plausible individually, create a pattern when viewed together. A pattern of access restrictions, navigation difficulties, and historical inconsistencies all centered on one region. As Arctic ice continues to melt and the region becomes more accessible, we'll see if those old maps were fantasy or memory. We'll discover whether the navigation issues were just technical limitations or something more. The ice is receding. Whatever is underneath will eventually be revealed. Share this video and check out the other content exploring these historical mysteries.